Hey everybody, so today I'm going to be doing a weird informal rant slash ramble thing about the Sig Spear-LT while I am cleaning and reassembling my Sig Spear-LT. So I picked up this gun about 2 months ago, and it's been kind of an ongoing saga, and I really want to do a long form video, and we'll ultimately have to do a long form video in the future, because right now this is still an ongoing issue. And in the video frame, you can see that I've got it pretty well torn down to just about the component parts minus the trigger group, which I actually will end up doing here in a second, because I have been having some real serious accuracy issues with this gun, to the point that I contacted Sig about it, and they gave me some tips on things to try before I send it back over to customer service to have them fix. I'm also getting over a head cold. I've been going on 2 weeks now of just being stuffy headed and coughing, so apologies for being a little snotty. So the Spear-LT came out about a year ago or so now. The MCX has been around long enough that I figured the kinks will have been worked out by now. Apparently I was not correct about that. And it was the new hotness. It's also by far the most expensive. The first time I had it out to the range, I had a Hilux 1-4X LPVO. This is the most that I've had to talk in like 2 weeks, so I'm definitely getting winded. And I was shooting 55 grain Wolf ammo, and I had a really nearly impossible time getting that thing to zero. And with the Spear-LT, shooting the 55 grain Wolf, so I tried some 55 grain Wolf Gold. Had the exact same issue. I like to zero with cheap ammo at 100 yards, and then test with a little bit better ammo. Just not spend $1 to $2 per round for really nice ammo whenever I don't need to. This group that I shot out of the LT, after I was fairly confident I was as close as I could get, I shot all 20 rounds of a box of Wolf Gold, 55 grain Wolf Gold, and I got an 8-inch group, which is about what I had been getting before. Not 8 inches maybe, but just all over the place kind of shotgun patterns with my Spear-LT. I did not have any match ammo with me out at the time. A lot of times I don't really need it for the initial zero. Generally speaking, my idea of practical accuracy is shooting a clay target consistently, we'll call it 3 out of 5 times, at 100 yards. And I figure if I can do that with steel case 55 grain ammo, the gun will do whatever I need it to do, because I have to imagine my groups will just get significantly better. Couldn't do that with the Spear-LT. So it was outside of the range of practical accuracy for me. Something's either real broken with this, or this ammo just sucks and I need to try something else. The problem is I had my IWI Carmel out and I shot it next, and I was immediately able to hit clay targets at 100 yards with it. So I didn't measure my groups then, and I wish I would have. I've made some changes to my gear to be able to do better at that, and by that I mean just chucking a measuring tape in my range bag. But yeah, I plan on doing that in the future with the IWI Carmel, and that's why I haven't actually done an official formal review video on it yet, because it's I would like to actually have some reasonable accuracy reports to make. Needless to say, not overly impressed the first trip out, actually actively frustrated the first trip out with the Spear-LT. So when I got home, I do what I do. Started researching accuracy issues on the LT. Started reading about the barrel flex problems and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into all of that piece of it, because I'm not planning on testing barrel flex under other people that have potentially better scientific method than me. Spend time doing that and arguing that point. And then if it ends up being a genuine issue, then maybe Sig will fix it on the new Sig, I don't know, Phantom Menace, that's going to address all of the problems of the LT. And if you want the upgrades, then you're going to have to buy a new rifle for $3,200 by then. That's all being facetious, obviously. That's been one of my ongoing problems with Sig as a brand, is it feels like they have these generations that they release. They have problems that they address very quietly, and then the customer ends up having to pay for it. I'm not a brand loyalist. If something works for me and I like it, then I'll use it. I was one of the early PSA adopters. I really liked PSA back when the internet would just crap all over you if you bought anything from PSA and would tell you that you should buy a BCM or what have you. And there are definitely benefits to going with a more premium AR. But back in the day, I really liked Palmetto State Armory back when the internet hated them. Now that's kind of flipped. The internet loves them. Similar with the Wasser. I really liked Wassers back in the day. Back when the internet said that they were, you know, assembled by the monkeys at Century Arms, which wasn't even the case then. They were converted, obviously. But I liked those guns too, and now they're internet darlings as well. So things change. I just go with my experience, and if I like a thing, then I like it. If I have good experience with it, and if I don't, then I don't. In this case, I did not have a great experience with this Sig. So, did my research on the internet, found out about the barrel flexing issue, and further, probably more pertinently, found out about the torque screw issue. So, the barrel is held in by a clamp. You can see the barrel's out here. It's held in by this clamp that's tensioned here. I think you can see that. You screw in the screws. It tightens the barrel. Really not much holding it on. There's a collar here on the barrel that holds it into the receiver. The factory specs are supposed to be 60 pounds. My barrel was set at under 30, and the only reason why I know it was under 30 instead of the exact is because I set my torque wrench to 30 and started twist, and it turned about a quarter of the way before my torque wrench actually set. All right, that was fun. This little thing somehow managed to get very stuck in the receiver, and I had to actually pry it out with a screwdriver to get it back out so I could get the screw back in. So anyway, so the barrel was not torqued down anywhere close to enough, and so I torqued it to 60 pounds, and then the handguard, when I went to take it off, was actually also it was barely above finger tight, and it's supposed to be, I think it's 30. I don't remember off the top of my head. Nevertheless, it wasn't torqued to spec either. So took it back out to the range and brought some really good match ammo, 5 or 6 different brands, ranging up from match grade, 55 grain, all the way up to 75 grain. And I've since heard that these guns generally prefer something closer to 77. So pulled the scope off just in case there was a scope issue. And what's funny is now this thing will not go back in, even though it would just drop right back in and then stick for all eternity a second ago. And so I tried all of those different brands of ammo with a Trijicon scope on there, TA01 NSN, 4 power, nice fine reticle, just to see. I also changed out my rest just to make sure that there wasn't any issues on my part. So I think the thing stopping me there is that screw, which is okay. And shooting the same Wolf Gold ammo, my group tightened up to, I was shooting 5-shot groups versus that last 20-round measured group that was 8 inches. And all of my 5-shot groups with the 55 grain steel case and brass case Wolf Gold, both brands were Wolf, ended up being about 4 inches. So you'd be pretty consistently about 4 inches at 100 yards. So not terrible with that ammo, but not great. And again, something that I would consider to be larger than what I would like to see for practical accuracy with my cheapest ammo. So then I also tried all the match ammo, and the best group that I got was I got a single group that was 55 inches. Sorry, that with the 55 grain match ammo, Hornady, or sorry, sub 2 inches. It was just under 2 inches. That was my best group by far. Almost all of my other match ammo groups were exactly 3 inches. It didn't matter if heavier ball, lighter ball, it just didn't seem to matter much. So I would have expected it, closer to 2 inches. But I had my BRN 180 out, and I shot it with the same ammo. It was shooting 2.5 inch groups with the same ammo. And then I had my Jackal. Now it did shoot some 3 inch groups with the same match ammo. I had my Jackal, and it was consistently 2.5 inch groups with the same ammo. So I probably can tighten up some of those groups a little bit and make some additional changes to the rest and all that, but that's acceptable to me. I'm sure someone else could shoot better than I could because I'm not the best shot. Nevertheless, pretty consistently 3 inch groups on a Sig Spear-LT to me was not great, especially considering that these guns retail for around $2,500. I talked to Sig about it because I wanted to know what else I could potentially do, or really, is that normal for them? Like, I wanted to find out if it's like the internet, people on the internet, most of the gun tubers and stuff just say generically it's an accurate gun, and then they don't say what kind of groups they shoot. So I don't know if their version of accuracy is different than my version of accuracy, because I don't consider 3 inches to be accurate with match ammo. With steel case, maybe, but because that just means that you have some upside on your accuracy if you shoot better ammo. But I talked to Sig about it, and I said, I just flat out asked him, what can you expect from an accuracy standpoint? And they said, with really, depending on the ammo and the shooter and the, etc., all of the qualifications, you should really be getting 2 inch groups or less. Maybe 1 3/4 inches would probably be pretty average. And I said, well, I'm getting 3. And they said, oh, well, you need to tighten the barrel down. So they walked me through tightening the barrel down, and I said, I already did that. And they said, well, one of the things that we have found is that the factory, and they're not supposed to, but the factory is often putting grease on the barrel extension, which is this part of the barrel right here, below the collar. They're putting grease on that whenever they seat the barrel, and then they're not tightening the torque screws down to spec. And so they said, even with all of the rifles that they get, that they handle, the first thing they do is take the barrels out and clean all the grease off of the barrel sleeve. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's the main thing that I'm doing. I'm cleaning it from the last range trip, since I've got it torn down anyway. I'm going to retorque the barrel down, and I got the sleeve all cleaned out here and dry, because what they said was, whenever you put that barrel in, grease will do what grease does, because it's basically held in with friction. Grease will do what grease does and reduce the friction, which is the opposite thing that you want to have happen on this particular gun. So I'm giving that a shot. It's pretty interesting. There's some wear here around the receiver. I've noticed with these gold guns, or these FDE guns, that finish wears real easy. You end up with a bunch of white scratches on it. So notice that now with a couple of FDEs that I've got. They wear kind of ugly, which doesn't matter if it doesn't matter, I guess. So alright, so I think we're back in. Just slid right back in. They said it should slide right out, and it did. Mine about shot out of there because it was nice and lubed up. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the other clamp on. So basically, with the grease removed from the gun and the barrel torqued back in correctly. Next steps for me is I'm going to go ahead and replace the trigger. The trigger I don't think is too bad. The factory trigger is a 2-stage, and it has a pretty stiff pull, at least compared to a Geissele. It's still a 2-stage though, and it's pretty crisp. It's just a little tougher to pull. I haven't put it on a trigger scale yet, but it's not too bad. I've already swapped the hinge adapter here with, not the hinge, but the stock adapter, I should say, with this conventional adjustable stock, because the stock was just too short for me. I even adjusted the stock in for a Trijicon ACOG close nose to the charging handle pull, and even then I was still an inch longer than what the little Slim Jim stock that it comes with is. I understand the theory of why they did that, of they wanted to have a really slim stock so it's easy to fold against the receiver, but with this Rogers Super stock, it's actually small enough that it folds and locks up still against the gun just fine. So I don't really know why they insisted on including that tiny little wire stock, except to be able to sell you a more comfortable adjustable stock on the aftermarket. Yeah, so I didn't find the stock to be particularly comfortable either. And what's weird is this gas plug was really hard to get out initially, and it's even harder to get out now. For some reason it's harder to get back in, and I don't really know why. I don't know why that's so stiff. The gas system on the plus side is very easy to adjust. It doesn't have the multiple gas positions and settings like the Jackal does to make it a really nice soft shooter. So it still has more abrupt recoil than the Jackal does with the system really tuned. But it's pretty comfortable to shoot though. From a control standpoint as well, I mean, it has a lot of these cool extended controls and things that make for a nice kind of tactical, cool guy kind of shooting experience, and are pretty practical. It's just a shame about the accuracy. So yeah, so I've got the stock on there, got the stock changed out. I'm going to change the trigger out. I've got a Geissele SSAE in there that I'm going to swap over to also. And then I've got some 77 grain Black Hills ammo that I'm going to bring back out. I did go ahead and take the Trijicon off of it, because I didn't feel like with the accuracy I was getting, it was really worth having an $1,100 scope on, even though it's a $2,500 rifle. And I'm going to go back in. I actually already went back in with a Holosun optic. So I keep taking off these screws for this, and I don't think it's actually necessary to do. I think you only have to take off the sides. And I double checked the manual, and the manual says 40 foot-pounds on the handguard. So I'm going to go ahead and put, that was another thing that I thought was interesting. There wasn't any Loctite on any of these screws, any thread lock. They were just sitting in there. So the handguard screws were, like I said, they were just barely above finger tight, even though they're supposed to be 40 pounds. So I'm going back in with some Loctite, because I just don't trust not having it on any threaded part on a gun that's going to eventually shake loose, which they just do, seems like, in my experience. Pretty easy overall to disassemble and reassemble, even though we do require some tools to remove the handguard to take the gas system out, which is the exact same way that the BRN 180 is. But the handguards on here appear to be just wide enough to actually let you slide over all kinds of different muzzle devices without interfering too badly. So that's kind of nice. So one thing with the BRN 180 that I don't care for on that is I did the pin and weld with my Silencer Co. AAC flash hider, and Got ready to take the handguards off, and the handguards don't come all the way off because they are not wide enough to slide over the muzzle device. So that was kind of a little bit embarrassing. Definitely should have double checked that before I did the pin and weld. It just didn't even occur to me because I just so seldom ever take muzzle devices off of my gut barrels. So didn't even register. I would have to do that for that gun to function. This seems to be pretty well thought out in that regard. So then after I go through the trouble of trying it again after having removed the grease, if we're still looking at the same level of issues on accuracy, then it's going to go back to Sig. And I'll update then. Basically, I'm going to wait until is this going to do this again to me? There we go. I'm going to wait until I know for sure to make a longer video on this gun. Am I stripping? Is it stripped? It's stripped. Oh, you sack of shit. Alright, so this screw is stripped on me. My bit looks pretty good. I don't think that that's a bit issue. I think that that's a screw issue. So that's cool. Hopefully I'll be able to get that off of there okay without having to drill it out. And also hopefully it is on there enough to not walk out. Very cool. Okay. Cool. Good quality. Okay, yeah, I can get it out, thankfully. I just can't torque it down enough. Yeah. Best I'm going to be able to do. So hopefully it's close. I looked online, forums said that they don't carry the screws for this. And from Sig. So you have to do some research, I guess, if you want to go to a local hardware manufacturer, hardware supplier, I should say, and buy an appropriate screw for your handguard if it strips out. One other thing that I forgot to mention while I'm slapping this back together is this charging handle is so weird. The rail goes back all the way almost to the charging handle. The rail slots do. But this charging handle, these little wings are so short that they interfere with almost any optic that I've put on there to some extent. Even QD ones. So I'm going back in with a Holosun, and it's got a QD on it, but it's so close. You just barely get any purchase on the wings of it. So more to come on this gun, because I've got more to do. I'll update once I find out from customer service, provided I have to send it back to customer service after this work. You can see how little clearance there is here. The charging handle. There's enough, but just barely. There you go. And I'll let you know what I find out. And we'll see how well we do at the next range trip with this. See you later.